Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like, and if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. But without wasting any time, let's get right into the video. So today's video, we have 10 cars under $10,000 for car enthusiasts. Now, the first car on this list is the Mazda RX8. The Mazda RX8 comes into two engine sizes. It's the 4-port or the 6-port Renesis. The 4-port makes 189 horsepower, while the 6-port makes 237 horsepower. The 6-port comes with a 6-speed manual transmission, unlike the 4-port, which comes with a 5-speed or 4-speed automatic, which was later upgraded to a 6-speed automatic. It's a 1.3 liter rotary engine, which is unlike anything else on the road. No manufacturer currently makes rotary engines, so you'll definitely be unique with this one. Some notable issues to consider are the coils and the coil packs, the plugs, and the apex seals. Some must-do upgrades are upgrades to the cooling system and upgrades to the lubrication system. Now, these cars have been reported to be able to handle upwards of 400 horsepower. 400 horsepower is the safe zone on stock internals, and the 4-port is recommended to make that. The second car on this list is the Lexus IS300. Now, this car needs no introduction. It shares the same engine as this car. It shares the naturally aspirated inline 6 with the Supra. It has a 2JZ GE in it. It does not have the turbo model, but you can turbo it and it can handle tons and tons of boost. These cars look great. They have tons of modifications to them and they're really well respected. They're rear wheel drive, and some of the issues that they have are AC servo pump fails, the radiator likes to crack, but being owned by Toyota means that they're reliable as heck and they can take a ton of abuse. The next car on the list is another Japanese car. It's the Nissan 350Z. It's a naturally aspirated V6 making around 300 horsepower. Now, some of the issues reported with the owners are the window regulators like to fail sometimes. There's a drive shaft clicking on the rear, and if you're gonna beat on it, it needs to have oil coolers added. These cars have been rated to be able to handle around 400 horsepower on stock internals, but keep in mind that they do have some oiling issues, so do that at your own risks, of course. They look super great and they have tons and tons of aftermarket, so you won't regret getting one. Now, the next car on the list is one of the best sounding cars ever produced in my opinion. It's one of my favorite sounds, and just take a listen. That's right, it's the Subaru WRX STI models. They sound incredible when you put an aftermarket exhaust on them. They are all-wheel drive, 4-cylinder boxer engines. Now, these cars don't come with a ton of horsepower out of the factory. The WRXs usually come with around 225 to 230 horsepower out of the factory. They come with a 5-speed manual, but the STIs come with a 6-speed and usually closer to 300 horsepower. Now, the generations that you'll probably be able to find under $10,000 are the first generation GC8, the second generation that spans over from 2002 to 2006, and the third generation from 2007 to 2014. Now, in my opinion, the best looking one is the GC8. It's my personal favorite, it's a dream car of mine. Now, some of the most known issues of the WRX platform and the STI platform is the oil leaks, the turbo fails, the rods and rod bearings failing, and the piston rings failing when you push the car too much, when you boost it too much. Now, these cars are rated to be able to handle on the stock blocks, stock internals, around 350 horsepower. However, it is still kind of risky, so I would recommend being careful. But they do look amazing. You have all-wheel drive, so when the north, with the snow, you have great fun. Next car on the list is a little bit different than the ones previously mentioned, as it's a German car. It's the BMW E39 5 Series. And more specifically, the 535 and 540i's, the V8 models. Now, the V6 models are okay, nothing wrong with them, but the V8s is where it's at. The 535 and the 540 come with a 6-speed manual, which is amazing. They also come in automatic versions, but the 6-speed manual is the one to get. And the 535 makes 230 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds, which is pretty good for a sedan from that era. And the 540 makes 282 horsepower and 325 foot-pounds of torque, which is plenty. Now, some of the common issues of these cars is the water pump likes to fail, the valve cover gasket like to fail, the window regulators like to fail sometimes, the power steering hoses like to fail, and the dash display likes to fail as well. Being a BMW, they're one of the more reliable ones, especially compared to the later models of BMW. So if you're gonna work on them, don't be too afraid. Now, they have been reported to be able to handle 350 horsepower on stock internals, which is not that much if you think about it, but these cars are not meant to be fast. They're meant to go at a high speed for long periods of time on the Autobahn, so they're not really made for acceleration purposes. They're one of the greatest looking sedans money can buy, in my opinion, and they're timeless. So if you do go with them, you'll not regret it. Now, next up is the Mitsubishi Eclipse GT. Now, the Mitsubishi Eclipse comes with a naturally aspirated V6 3.8 liter, making 263 horsepower and 260 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty impressive for a naturally aspirated engine. They come with a 6-speed manual transmission, and they're really reliable from what I've gathered in my research. Most people don't have anything to complain about, just normal wear and tear items that need to be replaced with usage. Now, people report that they are able to make safely 350 to 400 horsepower when boosted, and anywhere more than that they start getting issues, so keep that in mind. But this is still a very good number for a front-wheel drive car. They look pretty good, and they're a hatchback, so they're pretty practical for a 2-door car. Next up on the list is one car that I think is very underrated. Not many people modify them, or not many people want to own them. However, I think that they're really amazing. The Mazda Speed 3. The Mazda Speed 3 comes with an inline 4-cylinder, turbocharged, making 263 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque. It actually makes more torque than horsepower, which is insane. They're front-wheel drive with a limited slip differential, so they can put down the power without too much issues. They have been reported to be able to handle around 350 horsepower, which is crazy to think of, and the torque follows that huge increase with around 380 foot-pounds of torque, which is insane. They sound really good. really reliable. They don't have that many issues. They're more wear and tear items. Notably, the variable valve timing actuator likes to fail sometimes. The turbo seals sometimes give up when you have a clogged catalytic converter. And it's easy to tell because it has tons of white smoke coming out of the back, and it's probably the seals of the turbo. The high pressure fuel pump likes to fail sometimes. There's clogged injectors sometimes, and motor mounts like to fail a little bit prematurely, I would say. But other than that, they look amazing, and they come well under $10,000. So it's a no-brainer in my opinion. The next car stays in the Mazda family. It's a car that usually would be on the under $5,000 price range. However, prices have gone up and they're a bit over $5,000, but they're well below $10,000. So it's a great option. It's the Mazda Miata. Now, the Mazda Miata is a great little car, fun to drive, nimble, comes with a naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder, not making that much horsepower, around 140 horsepower, but that's not what they're made for. They're made for momentum, they're made for driving around the track. With good handling characteristics. They're really, really good looking in my opinion. Some people think they're cute, some people think they look good. Whatever you want, just look at it. It has pop-up headlights, that's all I care for. And yeah, it's a great solid choice, reliable, they're really reliable. Only notable issues I could find, they have some problems with the soft top, with the plastic windows fading and yellowing and having holes in them. They also have problems with rust if they've been in the rust belt. And they sometimes have the airbag light on because the airbag module has a fault, not because it's been blown or whatever. It's just the module needs to be replaced. They come with a 6-speed manual. They're rear-wheel drive, fun cars. You can have a hardtop on them to fix the soft top problems, and you could drive them all year around. And they're really economic too. Plus, if you're crazy enough, you can swap a V8 in it and call it a day, make tons of power. Number 9 on the list is something unusual, something that usually I don't hear a lot of people talk about, is the Porsche 928. Now these cars in my opinion look very good. They have the pop-up headlights as well, so that's a bonus. They have a naturally aspirated V8. .5 liter, making around 219 horsepower, which is not that much out of that engine, but it has good potential as people have reported to make around 400 horsepower reliably, with that being around the limit of the powertrain. They come with a 5-speed manual transmission and automatic options, but people say to stay away from the automatic options. The manuals are better. Some of the notable issues I could find, this is not all the issues, but most of the common issues of these cars are there are ground issues with the electrical. They have problems with the headlights staying up or down, not wanting to go up or down. The sunroof doesn't like to operate sometimes, it stays stuck. And the odometer becomes unoperational, so it doesn't work. You can find them under the $10,000 comfortably. Now, before I jump into the last car of this video, I want to make an honorable mention to the Acura TL 4th generation SH all-wheel drive 3.7 liter. Now, this car has around 305 horsepower. It's a naturally aspirated V6, and some of them come with a 6-speed manual transmission, but these ones are super rare, so most of them are automatic. These cars don't look that great out of the factory, I'm gonna be honest. The 3rd generation looks way better. It's one of the best looking ones. The 4th generation kind of looks like a truck, like a snow plowing machine, so on. but I've seen some ones look really good and really sleek when you add some aftermarket bits, wheels, suspensions. So don't get discouraged from the first look of it, and they sound pretty good. Just take a listen. But with that being said, the 10th car on this list, another underrated car, it's the Volvo S60R design. Now that car is incredible. This car is an inline 5-cylinder, you don't hear that often, making 295 horsepower, 295 foot-pounds of torque. They come with a 6-speed manual transmission, space ball, which is one of the most desired ones, and they're not that hard to find under $10,000, so that's really good. They have a great interior, they come with adaptive suspension, they have some really cool bits and pieces from the early 2000s, and they just look amazing when you put some aftermarket bits and pieces to them. They've been reported to be able to handle up to 400 horsepower, relatively reliable, so that's really good. They're rear-wheel drive, they come also with all-wheel drive, and they don't have that many issues with them. Some of the issues are the slave cylinder, the leaky struts for the adaptive suspensions, the wheel bearings like to fail, and the power steering fails sometimes. Like I said, there's not that many issues with it. It's a pretty reliable car, and it's really safety. As you know, Volvo safety, you know what I mean. So that's gonna be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this video. I hope I was able to help you figure out a car that you like. And if you liked it, please consider leaving a comment down below. And if you have any recommendations for others, leave them down below. Maybe you'll be able to help other people. But with that being said, live your life to the fullest, and I'll see you in the next video.